Okay, so today I'm going to install a set of the Tiida Motorsports caster camber plates. The project car I'm going to work on is a 1980 Ford Foxbody Mustang, but these plates themselves are going to fit any Mustang from 1979 to 1993. You're going to get two in a package. They are not designated left and right, but what you'll find is that they are interchangeable left to right by just placing them in the correct pattern. So to start with, I'm going to get the car up on jack stands on the front end. Once I'm there, I'm going to take the front wheels off, and then I'm going to disconnect the front sway bar. What that's going to allow me to do is to be able to put a jack underneath the front control arm and adjust the strut position up and down easily. Now once I have that complete, I'm going to take some initial, I would say, measurements of where everything is. When you put on new parts itself, you want to make sure that they return back to the original position. So as you can see in the blue painter's tape, I've now got that where I've got basically a crosscar and a fore-aft position. So I've got painter's tape here on the lip. And I just drew a line straight out approximately where the center of the strut is now. And I also did that crosscar. So that's this mark here. So once that is complete, where you've got your initial measurements of where your strut is placed, you can now start disassembling it. So I can now take off the top nut on the strut itself. Most of the time these are going to be a hold and drive setup, so where you'll notice that it's not round on the top of the strut, it's more of an oval that has two flat sides to it. This is meant to hold this while you turn the nut counterclockwise, obviously to take it off, and then also to tighten it, you hold that and then drive the nut down. Alright, so once you have the top nut taken off, you can set this aside because this is going to be reused. So set it in a good place where you're not going to lose it. Next piece is going to be taken off the caster camber plate from the factory. This has 3 bolts itself, so you're going to take the 3 nuts off, take the top plate off. Now there may be a factory rivet in the back or the front, depending on where it is on which side of the car. You may have to drill that out in order to get this top plate off. Once you have your top nuts off themselves, these are not going to be reused, so these can go to the recycle bin or to a parts bin if you're going to keep them. You're then next going to take off the old strut top. So you can see I actually broke one of the nuts taking it off, so that's okay. This is going to not be reused. This will be put in the recycle bin basically. So once this is done, I'm now going to clean the top of the strut here with just some degreaser, get some grease off. I want nice clean space to work. And then I'm going to start putting on the Tiida caster camber plates all back in. Okay, once you have your strut tower cleaned, you can now take out your new Tiida caster camber plate itself. You're going to take off the 3 nuts for the 3 positions on the strut tower. That's a locking nut. Take that off, plus the washer. You're going to set those aside for 1 second. You can then take your top plate off, and you're just going to set it aside for a moment. Now it's time to install the bottom plate with the 3 studs. So these actually have a bushing on top, so I'm going to take those off, keep them in my hand, go underneath with the plate itself. Once the bottom plate is in place, take your bushings you have, put them over the studs, just like that. Now you're going to take your top plate with the plate on the bottom here, the movable, put that on. Next piece, you're going to reinstall the washers on top of the plate now, plus the lock nuts, and you can start securing those down, but don't tighten them just yet. Alright, so one thing to note as you put your plate in, if you put it underneath and it doesn't really fit very well, a lot of times you're going to have variation in your strut mount. Now of course, these plates themselves are made to fit every model, and you think there are millions of these cars on the road, so sometimes these plates are not going to fit great to your strut tower. If that happens, it's okay. You can just take a grinder, such as something like this, and then just open up these holes just a little bit. Now you don't want to get crazy and open them up too wide. You want this to fit snugly, but not to where it's sloppy in the holes. So if you put it under there, such as this one where it kind of goes in, but not really, it's okay. I'm just going to open up these holes just a little bit to make it fit in there snugly, but not to where I have to pound it in with a hammer. Alright, so at this point, once you have the 3 nuts started, if you haven't cut off the zip tie that was through the bearing itself in the center, you can go ahead and cut that, take it off, remove it, it's garbage. Alright, so now that you have your plate assembled to your strut tower, take out both of your bushings, top and your bottom. You'll notice they are different, so the top is going to be the smaller, the shorter piece. The longer is going to go to your bottom. Both of these need to fit the strut shaft itself. Now, due to variation in the strut shafts, Team Z machines the inner diameter of these bushings on the small side, and you need to grind these out, if required, to match your strut. You want them to be a snug fit so they don't rattle when fully assembled. So I used a Dremel just to clean these out just enough. About 1/10 of a millimeter was all I needed to clean out just to make them fit to mine. And that's going to give them a great snug fit without rattle once they're completely done. Once your bushings fit your strut shaft, you can then reassemble them. So top in, bottom in. Now you can pull your strut shaft up. Now you may get it to the point where it doesn't go all the way through, and that's where you can use your jack to help lift the control arm and help bring that strut up. Once the strut is pulled up through and there's threads exposed, you can then use your OEM nut or the one that was originally on the strut. Tighten that down finger tight, and then you can start securing everything down. Once you have everything aligned to your original marks that should be on your painter's tape, you can final secure all of your fasteners. Now once you're ready for final secure, the main strut nut itself is going to be 72 foot-pounds, and that is according to an OEM Ford service manual. The 3 nuts for the plate itself, because they're a lock nut, you can secure those down till they're tight and give them roughly a 1/4 turn, and that's going to be enough torque to prevent them from backing off because of the lock nuts. Now itself on the bearing plate, you can play with that a little bit. Those, because they're going into a metal structure and there's no squish, those you can do somewhere between 40 to 60 foot-pounds there. And you can play with it and decide what you want to do. But those ones don't go too tight, but yet make them snug and a little bit further. Once those are done, you can then reassemble your sway bar, put on your front tires, and then you're done. Now once everything's final secured, I would recommend you taking your vehicle into an alignment shop to at least have it checked, because you've taken your suspension loose and you think you've got it back right, but just make sure to have it aligned or at least checked. Now if you have any questions on any of the work done here, putting on the Team Z caster camber plates, feel free to contact Team Z at teamzmotorsports.net. And they have a great sales and service. So if you're not a Ford Mustang guy, check out a lot of their F-body and G-body parts. And if you need anything else for your Mustang, now is a great time to buy. We'll see you next time.